it's a journey, you know, it's a lifestyle. You just have to love what you do.
Poetry is a lifestyle?
Yeah, you know, and you know, we as artists, we always love what we do organically, and then comes money. And sometimes there's a conflict in this modern world, you know. But one of the greatest thing is when you love something, you say no matter what, you have to just give it. And that's who I am. I just gotta give it. And that's who I am.
But do you write sometimes? Do you really put the words down?
I write on paper and I write in my head. At puberty, I began writing in my mind at the Federal Detention Center, Oakdale, Louisiana. That's where I began leaving writing in my mind to paper. And that's when one of my greatest poems was written, Saints to Live By. Yeah, and it's a poem that I use to heal people because I work and heal with words, you know. The sayings of the words from a wise man is to overstand a proverb and interpretation. Yes, Brown man earlier on called me this wise man. Every morning we arise, we face choice and decision. To help make up our mind, we need advice and opinion. From the moment that we choose, it was our intention. We have our own mind to decide what's right from wrong. Control your own mind and use your discretion. Speak your mind in any conversation. Hypocrite to yourself to do self-rejection. Our deep inner strength builds from stress and tension. There is a purpose for every man and woman. Earth, give us talent, one is in your possession. Just be yourself and put it into action. All ideas are from imagination. We all born with sight. What we lack is vision. Anything you do in life, there's always retribution. The key to success is organization. Ed can't organize without an education, whether from the street or from an institution. Fulfill your needs first, your wants come second. Don't talk about a thing unless it's into your hand. You have planned to fail if you fail to plan. Some worship vanity and say they have ambition. To obtain a better human relate strong. Overstand each other through communication. To one another be in subjection. Devote your time and attention. Your responsibility is your obligation. Be humble to deal with any situation. Anyone seek love will cover a transgression. The fear of being lonely and in desolation. A pure and merry heart. Do good just like medication. Righteousness and everlasting foundation. Shall we not perish in our own expectation? Working on ability is a living motivation. Every minute starts the hour. Time breaks for no one. Sayings to live by is for all generic nation. And these sayings will live on and on and on and on and on and on and on.
So when did you write that?
When I was at the Federal Detention Center.
No, but I mean in terms of time. How much time difference
The thing
from
is
now?
that at the time I used to live with a woman. That's how I was a trafficker, and she had 2 daughters. And while incarcerated, she had 2 daughters, and one was going through puberty, and we were writing letters. Each had their own letter, you know. The mom, the 2, each had their own letter. So by the time she told me having her first menstruation, I had to supply her not being there, you know. As a father, you know, biologically I have no children, but I was a father at the time, and I had to supply them with energies and inspiration and good words. So hence I began each letter, I began sending a kind of positive note. But I used to document them at base, and then I realized that these things kind of rhyme. And then I said, rhyme? What rhyme and poetry? And but me already I write lyrics, and hence conceived this Saints to Live By poem. And of course, in the few lines that I had sent, I took it a step further and really went into myself and found a compilation of these words to create and write that poem. And I must say, a lot of the writings that I do, including that one, sometimes I can't account for myself because I don't know where those words are coming from.
So where could they come from?
It comes through me. We have this brain, you see, and the brain is involuntary. And that's why I do things to help kill myself, because we are born dying. So a lot of the things, you know, I want to contribute. So in the involuntariness, which becomes part of the unknown, when we are accredited, my common accreditation is Mother Earth and Father Son. So Mother Earth and Father Son in part of my purpose on earth, because everyone has their purpose, you know. Like even the brethren that make the drinks here at this bar, you know, maybe them destined to be a bartender because they make the good work there, you know. So everyone has their purpose. So I guess part of my purpose, it evolves to be who I am. Notwithstanding, I was born in Doheny Park. I wasn't born in an hospital. I was born in Doheny Park, and Doheny Park is named after poets. And it took me well over 30 years to see the connotation between not born in an hospital in an year that's named after poets. King Tubby's, the great dub master, used to live at the corner of Sherlock, someone I am quite familiar with. Lee Scratch Perry, who used to be over in Washington Garden, his son, me and him used to be in same class in grade 2 before I knew his father was Lee Scratch Perry. It took me years to see all this connotation.
So how important is intuition now?
Well, part of knowing who I am, where intuition is concerned, in my latest knowingness of who I am, being a creative innovator, it all leads from being a child, not able to go out and play. So everyone had to come to my gate, and I realized that I was very good at drawing people and talk to them. And that grew. It just grew, because then I realized that in talking to so much people over the years and how I input into their lives and the importance of that, I just live it. So you know, I never choose to function in the modern world and have a 8 to 5, a mortgage, a wife and a child. Just living, you know, because yes, I'm guilty also of the 2000 the world would have ended and I was at one eye in, one eye out. So that's standing all that has been happening in my head. The intuitive part of me now being mature. Yes, yeah, now being mature, at 48. I function on 3 ages: my chronological age 48, my psychological age I'm about 13, and my physiological age I think I look about in the 30s. So the intuitive part of me now, it grows from an organic thing into now being like a job description, because then I now realize that hey, I've been paid for just who I am. So the intuitive part of me and the ability to look into the minds of others is something that I have discovered myself, because I discovered it first being looking into my own mind and knowing that I have the ability to see another person's mind. So even like the Saints to Live By poem, that's the poem that I use as the entry when I'm doing my workshop processes to enter in anyone's mind, because then I would ask which line of the poem really impacts you, stimulates you, and once you tell me that line, that's my doorway, that's my key and doorway which I would open, and I enter, and then I'm able to amplify one's thoughts. You know, so that's my first phase in amplifying one's thoughts. The other phase is I'm going to inject my own intellectual property, you know, and intravenously, and it's like I write a new chip in your brain, you know, something like that.
But when you say brain, and does that mean like is a difference between brain and soul and body and brain?
Good question, because I'm still undecided in a lot of what you're saying. But up to the time, we live in duality. We wake up in the morning. We wake up in the morning and decide if we are going to wear some different color suit. We decide on what. There's an internal conversation on what we're going to do.
It's not dual.
I feel it as dual because it's a conversation with self. Shall I have coffee? Shall I have tea? Shall I wear something blue? Sometimes I wear something red, you know?
But there are more options.
As in?
You can wear blue, green, purple, yellow, white.
But
black.
the internal will still has to come to a conclusion, and that's a
Yes.
conversation. Whatever it is, the end result
Yes.
is a conversation. We have to sign off with self. We have to sign off and say, whatever it is, we sign off, and that becomes an internal conversation, which makes us in duality.
So you also think that nature and culture is divided? That's the dual system that I don't
Yes
want
and
to...
no,
Yes.
because we have the power to incorporate thoughts that lead us to behavior patterns. Because we have that power, yes and no. Because for those who would leave their self organic to the process, they would void themselves of that. But when you superimpose now, you put intellect to it. Here's a nice intellect. I don't like sharing my chocolate. So there was a time, if I buy one chocolate and someone begs me peace, I must really like you to offer you peace of mind, because I'm going to say no. But guess what? There are some people, when they realize that I think before I give them, they would feel it's not organic. So even though I give them, they feel it's not of the art, because at first
Yes.
I didn't. So these days I buy 2 chocolates.
So then nature and culture in terms of the outside and the inside is sometimes connected and sometimes not?
Because nature and culture becomes an outspiration, because nature is outside of us, culture is outside of us.
You don't think we are part?
Yes, because we would not recognize that it is coming from people. We would only recognize that there is culture. You understand? So we do not recognize that all this is from people, because we operate from what is painted as culture. So if the culture of Jamaica is to eat rice and peas on Sunday, once you're in Jamaica, it's just the norm. But like for me, who doesn't exist in the norm, is happy having some oats porridge for my Sunday dinner with bread and butter toasted.
And in terms of the ocean and the environment, why do we see it different? Don't you think it would be easier if we would see it as a part of us and we're part of that?
It's difficult because nature gave us our own fingerprint, and if all of us is similar, same brain, everything, but one thing that makes a distinction, first to begin, is our fingerprints. These days they're using the eyes now. These days they're using the eyes. So in that imprint of who we are, we first have to recognize that we are here to express our own individuality. So in the world of worlds, what we must do now is look at how everyone wants to express their own individuality and place it in the clusters. Yeah.
So you think the clusters are more important than the individual?
Yes, because we are people driven. People needs people. So it's like minds. It's like the ocean. We would first want to find all persons who love the oceans before trying to stimulate those who don't.
So that's us being social, but don't we think we disturb the environment too?
Yeah.
Why do you think we do that if we know that it's important for us?
You see, here is where now regions, geographical locations, because yes, we disturb the nations, but there are other parts of the world that we don't in doing the same thing.
But why is that good?
We're at a point, it's not about good and bad, it's
Yes.
not about right and wrong.
Yes.
They are just world events, and it will serve some and it will not serve some. So it's not about wrong and right.
Yes, I think that too. That's why I don't believe that there's a dual system. I think it's always like more.
Well, duality, as I would first explain, entails self.
Ah.
It doesn't exist in the out.
Yes.
It's something about self, you know. Yeah, it doesn't take part in the outdoor. is a conclusion takes us. So I would say to myself, what are you saying? And I talk to myself, and then I come to a conclusion, and then I express it, which becomes singular.
Yes. So do you believe in time travel?
Yes. Yes. Yes, because let us take science for example. If science can connect itself in still finding airwaves out there that was transmitted in 1936, airwaves still out there is traveling, which they proved, they picked that up. So that's one fact. I believe it. I believe it. What we call deja vus. So let us place that also there. Let us place the power to think how we want to think. When we connotate those factors, of course it exists. How much of that existence can become real manifestology and touchable? It may not happen here, but it can happen in someone else's existence. Yeah.
So that's like a global we.
Yes, because I'm a writer, and sometimes when I Google some of my writing, it already exists, and I would say to myself, oh, I just came up with this idea. Oh, I created this, I didn't create it diddly. Because Google now allows me to see that there are like minds out there, like me and you.
Like minds, but do you think we can also talk to other species, to animals and algae?
No, animals is easy. Yes.
Plants?
Yeah, man, then like in Jamaica, you know, you have some man have some goats, and is the dog carries them home. So it's another transition of even communication where a man talks to another animal, so the animal talks to another animal to come home. I have seen people to the point giving animals that they are not going to slaughter names. You know, once they give them kind of names, it's like they are not for slaughtering.
Yes.
But for those who don't have any names, they are for slaughtering. But I see, like in the commonness of them feeding them every day, the animals respond to them and they communicate. Sometimes I see people even talk to them. So yes, there is a communication.
Maybe also communication without language or other forms of language.
Right, because I just responded to the animal nature of what you're saying. Now let's go a bit of the animal nature. Let's look at aliens. I myself is an alien because I don't think like the normal people do. So I consider myself an alien. Also, there are some truths you see that I believe, and there are some truths that I know. Let us look at aliens. There are aliens. There are aliens. Don't ask me how I know, but I will try to tell you how I know. If you have the privilege to really talk to someone who is really in the United States government, who really is into science, who really are they telling stories or that's a question, you know. So I have no proof, you know. Like history, like stories, we just gotta take the word for itself. Yes. You know, so we believe but we do not know. Yeah.
So what is the difference between believing and knowing in relation to...
That is why my history begins from when I was born. My history begins from when I was born because it's touchable. Any other history that is before I was born, it's not touchable. These days we have things like maybe a video recording, You know, because the writing doesn't says it, because an individual can write, but like a video recording or an audio recording does more. So any history from video and